Hello, children. I welcome you to the revision session of the chapter Medieval India. Your tests are fast approaching. I want you all to learn the key terms properly and also go through the workbook. Now, let's start discussing the chapter. Now, see, history is divided into three periods: ancient, medieval, and modern. Ancient we have already done in class 6th. This time we are doing medieval period. Medieval period ranges between 8th century to 18th century. Now, medieval period is further divided into early medieval period and late medieval period. See, early medieval period is from 8th century to 13th century. If I say we are living in 21st century, then the years are in, like, 21st century means years are 2021, starting from 20. So 8th century means the years must be in 700s, and to 13th century, and then late medieval period was from 13th century to 18th century. So we are discussing about medieval period. Medieval means in middle. It is further divided into early medieval period and late medieval period. Early medieval period is between 8th century to 13th century, and late medieval period is between 13th century to 18th century. And what is the difference between early and late medieval period? Now we have done the second chapter of history, so we know better. Early medieval period saw the rise of Palas, Pratiharas, Rajputs, Rajputas, right? And the late medieval period saw the arrival of the Turks, Afghans like Mahmud Ghazni, right? Prithviraj Chauhan, others. So this is the difference between early medieval period and late medieval period. In early medieval period, there were Palas, Pratiharas, Rajputas. We have discussed about them, Gopala, right? Then in the south, we had Cheras, Cholas, Pandyas. And in the late medieval period, we had Turks, Afghans, Mughals, right? Now, India has been known by various names like Jambu Dweep. Dweep means island. Jambu Dweep, Bharatvarsh, right? Some people say that Bharatvarsh is named after Bharat. Then in Rig Veda also Bharatvarsh has been mentioned. Then India has also been named as Sapta Sindhu. Actually, I told you that the Afghans who tried to come to India, they could not call Hindustan properly. So rather they called it Hindustan, or they called river Indus sometimes as Sindhu, right, or Indu. So it came to be known as Sapta Sindhu. Sapta Sindhu means land of seven seven rivers, right? So India has been known by rivers. Actually, India has been land of rivers. Plus, they wanted to cross river Indus. So Sapta Sindhu. Then Hindustan is also named because they could not call river Indus properly. They could not say Indu. Whenever they tried to say Indu, it came out to be Hindu. So when they reached, so they called it Hindustan, right? And this is how our country got the name Hindustan. Then Sapta Sindhu, this name has also been mentioned in the Parsi's book, that is Zend Avesta. This is important. In the Parsi's book Zend Avesta, it has been named as Sapta Sindhu. Then it has been named as Bharatvarsh. It has been named as Hindustan. And the interesting thing at that point of time was that there was not proper transportation and communication, right? When there was improper and inefficient transportation and communication, so people could not travel throughout the country. So whatever this saw around, they felt that this is the dimension of the country, this is the limitation of the country. Like, I give you an example. Minhaj-e-Siraj, right? When he described Hindustan, he said that it included only Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between Ganga and Yamuna. Probably because he saw only that much area, right? When Babur called Hindustan, then he referred to geography, culture, natural vegetation beyond Punjab, Haryana, and the regions between Ganga and Yamuna, because he saw more of Hindustan. So Minaji Siraj, he felt that only Punjab, Haryana and the regions between Ganga and Yamuna comprise Hindustan. So at that time transportation and communication were not properly developed. So they could not understand the dimension, the map of the country. It was the Britishers who were able to describe the boundaries of Hindustan properly, the boundaries of India properly. Even when the French came, they called India Inde. Inde. And then when the Britishers came, they gave the name India. So we are known by so many names. Then if I talk of medieval history, let's see the characteristics of medieval history. Now let's discuss about the importance of medieval history. See, the first and the most important point, that is why I have written it with a different color: rise of Muslim dynasties. All other points are related to this only. This period saw the rise of Muslim dynasties. Actually, Mahmud Ghazni came, then later on Ghori was there, and after that all the dynasties like Khilji dynasty and other dynasties got established in India. So it saw the rise of Muslim dynasties. The Muslim dynasty was able to rule over India because they had sophisticated and better weapons that were not known to the Indians. So they had better weapons. So though they had less of soldiers on their side, but they were always able to defeat the Indian rulers. So now, since they were very, very brave, it was difficult to remove them from power. So it led to political stability. The Muslim rulers ruled for a longer period of time because there was nobody to defeat them, right? Then they belonged to a different nation. They came to India, but they did not forget their nation. Rather, they continued trading with their nation. In fact, they came to India first to trade only, and then later on they realized that they should settle in India, right? So they maintained those trade relations even after settling down in India, right? Then of course the Muslim dynasties came, so they brought with them their own religion, that was Islam. Now they brought with them their own culture, their own Sufi songs, right? And then they were really fond of art and architecture. They got various mosques built. Now mosque had that that dome shape thing. Dome, you understand? It's a kind of you may say hemisphere, right? That is a dome shaped structure. So they brought with them those dome shaped structure. Then art and architecture actually flourished during this period. Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world, masterpiece, was built in this period. If I talk of Qutub Minar, it was built in this period. So this period saw rise in art and architecture. So what is the importance of medieval history? Of course, rise of Muslim dynasties. The Muslim dynasties rose. They were really very powerful. It was difficult to eliminate the Muslim rulers, so it led to political stability since the rulers could not be removed easily. Then they did not forget about their countries, about their native countries. They continued trade relations with them, so overseas trade flourished. And then of course they brought with them their own religion, spread of Islam, and art and architecture flourished. Now let's see what are the various sources of medieval history. Now if I talk of the sources of medieval history, then let's see what are the sources. Now let's see what are the various sources of the medieval history. There are various archaeological sources and there are various literary sources. Archaeological, first of all the spelling. Arc, A-E-O. This E is often eliminated by the students. Yes, that is the mistake. So arc, A-E, then archaeological. So A-E-O, then logical, simple. So arc is simple, logical is simple. You have to learn A-E-O in between, right? Archaeological and literary sources. Now archaeological sources include, like monuments. They are archaeological sources. Monuments give us a lot of information about the type of marble, the type of stone which was available, about the rulers. Actually the rulers got, their names written on the walls of the monuments. And since they got their names engraved on the walls, what is it called? Getting the names, getting the information engraved on pillars, on the walls, on the copper plates, it is known as inscriptions. So in the monuments we have various inscriptions. Monuments give us idea about the architectural style at that point of time, about the marble available, about the building material available, and The inscriptions there also give us a lot of information about the kings, about the rulers, and the study of inscriptions is known as epigraphy. What is it known as? Epigraphy. Then we have coins of that point of time. Now coins have the names of the kings, the reign of the king, and I discussed that this Gurjara Pratihara, Bhoja introduced these silver coins which had the print of Varaha, that means Lord Vishnu, right? So silver coins, that means silver was used. So it gives us so much information, right? Varaha, sign of, symbol of Lord Vishnu, means he was the devotee of Lord Vishnu. So we get to know so much. And the study of coins is known as numismatics. What is it known as? Numismatics. Then if I talk of the literary sources, we have various literary sources, right? We have the travelogues. Travelogues means people who traveled to India, people who visited India, they wrote about India. Then we have chronicles. Chronicles are the ones in which the events are arranged in chronological order. Chronological order means the way they happened. Like this date, this happened. Like 15th June, this happened. 16th June, this happened. Right? So on, so on, so on. So chronological order. So chronicles were there. Then biographies. Biographies means when I write about your life, it is a biography. But if I write about my own life, that is autobiography. So there are various biographies and autobiographies of this period, and they give us a lot of information. So travelogues, chronicles, biographies and autobiographies give us a lot of information. Now we have already learned about Al-Biruni. He visited India along with Mahmud Ghazni and wrote Kitab-i-Hind, right? And then he also wrote this Tariq al-Hind. It is also known as Tariq al-Hind, this Kitab-i-Hind. Then Ibn Battuta, he was a Moroccan and he visited India and wrote Rihla. Then Abu Razak, he visited the kingdom of Vijayanagar in the south, and Abu Razak wrote about it. So they give us a lot of information. Ibn Battuta has given us a lot of information, like jackfruits were there at that point of time, right? Mangoes were eaten by the people. What was their belief, right? Fishing was practiced. Then we have various chronicles. Let's have a look at the chronicles. Let's see the chronicles. Rajtarangini by Kalhana, Tarikh-i-Firoz Shahi by Ziauddin Barani, Tarikh-i-Farishta by Farishta, Khazan-al-Futtu and Tughlaq-Nama by Amir Khusrau. So let's see again. Rajtarangini by Kalhana, Tarikh-i-Firoz Shahi by Ziauddin Barani, Tarikh-i-Farishta by Farishta, Khazan-al-Futtu and Tughlaq-Nama by Amir Khusrau. Rajtarangini by Kalhana, Tarikh-i-Firoz Shahi by Ziauddin Barani, Tarikh-i-Farishta by Farishta, Khazan-ul-Futtu and Tughlaq-Nama by Amir Khusrau. So Rajtarangini by Kalhana, Tarikh-i-Firoz Shahi by Ziauddin Barani, Tarikh-i-Farishta by Farishta, Khazan-ul-Futtu and Tughlaq-Nama by Amir Khusrau. Now let's see the various biographies. Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai, Humayun-Nama by Gulbadan Begum, Akbar-Nama by Abul Fazl, Tarikh-i-Sher Shahi by Abbas Sherwani. It is all about Sher Shah Suri. So let's see them again. Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai, Humayun-Nama by Gulbadan Begum, Akbar-Nama by Abul Fazl, Tarikh-i-Firoz Shahi was a chronicle by Ziauddin Barani. This is Tarikh-i-Sher Shahi by Abbas Sherwani. This is a biography about Sher Shah Suri. So let's see again. Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai, Humayun-Nama by Gulbadan Begum, Akbar-Nama by Abul Fazl, Tarikh-i-Sher Shahi about Sher Shah Suri by Abbas Sherwani. Prithviraj Raso by Chand Bardai, Humayun-Nama by Gulbadan Begum, Akbar-Nama by Abul Fazl, Tarikh-i-Sher Shahi by Abbas Sherwani. Now let's see the autobiographies. Now autobiographies include Futuwat-e-Firoz Shahi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Babar-Nama by Babur, Tuzuki Jahangiri by Jahangir. So Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Babarnama by Babur. Jahangiri by Jahangir. So Babarnama by Babur. Tuzuki Jahangiri by Jahangir. Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Babarnama by Babur. Tuzuki Jahangiri by Jahangir. Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Babarnama by Babur. Tuzuki Jahangiri by Jahangir. With this, I wind up. Thank you and have a great day.